Hi, everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of The Think Tank. Excuse my raspy, saucy voice. I've got a little bit of a cold at the moment. But on this episode, I've asked Anna Rowe to come on board with us. I first came across Anna on social media, LinkedIn, when I was exploring romance fraud, and I thought, what a strong woman. So Anna has set up two causes, which she can talk about in a minute, based on her own unique experience with romance fraud. So welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here.
It's really nice to have you here. Thank you for making the trip. So what I thought we could do is, for those who don't know you, if you would mind quickly explaining your story and how it came to be.
Okay. So after having had success previously, that was my go back to. And online dating wasn't as popular as it is.
And we're
now.
talking 2015, 16?
It was 2015, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So on I went and I matched with this guy, and the next morning, it was me that actually swiped on his profile. It wasn't so much the picture that had attracted me, it was the words on the profile. He'd said, looking for a long-term, serious relationship, not into poor communication and mind games, humble, genuine, honest. Those words came back to haunt me. Yeah. And he wasn't a gym rat. I wasn't into all of that kind of, I'm just not, it's just not my thing. Everything was brilliant. And then the next morning, it was at 7 o'clock in the morning. I was getting my kids ready, just getting the kids ready for school. You've got a match. And then straight away, you've got a message. And I opened it up and it was like, oh, hi Anna, I'm Anthony. I'll lead. Where are you based? And I was like, we started having a little chat and I was like, oh, look, I'm just getting my kids off to school. Is it possible to talk later? That's where it started.
But also a big green flag as a woman, where someone connects and makes the first move, they take, I'm going to message you. There's no mind games. We're connected. I'm going to message you. So you're probably thinking, oh, but he's a bit like what he says.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So not afraid of showing their emotions. Yeah. You know, that was on the profile as well. So, and everything he did over the next sort of amount of time very much backed up everything that was written on his profile. So actions were matching words, as it were. So he set the scene over the next 3 months. He was setting the scene for how things would be. I now realise that period of time was a grooming period.
What do you mean by he was setting the scene? So what kind of things can you now look back on and think that was a bit calculated? Like he was, the tone and the pace and the cadence was all in his doing.
Yeah. So what I mean by setting the scene was, after we'd connected, we started chatting on the phone.
Okay.
He would very much open up about himself first, which then gave me permission to open up about myself and my past. What he was opening up about was obviously not the truth. It was close to reality, but it wasn't the truth. He was a single dad, recently divorced. It'd been 15 months. He was just starting out on the dating scene again. He'd been hurt.
Romance, loyalty. What's your touch points? What's your trigger points?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a very clever way of building trust and letting me open up about my past.
Yep.
So I was doing all of that. While we were chatting, it also said on his profile about he worked in legal, in aviation, always on a plane. So as we started talking, asking about, so what do you do? He would then say to me, I very much feel that I prefer quality of time over quantity of time. This is where he was setting the expectations of what a relationship would look like.
Yes.
So because he worked away a lot with his job and because he only had his kids at the weekend, that's the agreement he had with his ex-wife because of the pattern of work that he had. Yeah. We'd probably only see each other a couple of times a week.
But you understand, that's fine. He's explained it to me. I trust him.
I trust it.
Yeah.
Also, he'd already drawn out of me about my own children's father, who was not a devoted dad.
Yeah.
He was the devoted dad where weekends were going to be spent.
Look how good I am.
Yeah.
You can trust me. I love my kids.
I love my kids, and that's their time. Also, when he used to arrive at the house, phones went away.
Oh, so he said to you, it's quality time. Let's put our phone over here.
Yeah.
No one can disturb us.
It's just you and me. And it's quality time for us.
And so do you think that was to protect himself from getting interrupted, or you seeing a message you shouldn't from other women he's talking to, or right?
Yeah. I mean, it turned out he had a phone that was dedicated to his fake identity. But of course, the phone that he
Agree.
used to bring in with him,
Yeah.
little be known to me, was his family phone, where messages would have come through from his kids or his wife, because that was something I found out after 14 months.
He's married.
The guy that I was in a relationship with for 14 months was
14 months.
Yeah, was actually married. And far be it from wanting a long-term serious relationship, that he'd been leading a double life with a complete fake identity, fake emails, complete set of fake social media, fake Skype accounts,
Right.
and a phone that was dedicated to that fake life.
That does sound like a practiced MO.
It absolutely was.
Right.
And it was very psychologically manipulative.
Yeah.
It's hindsight's a great thing. And when you start learning about this kind of experience at the other end of it, I very clearly could start identifying the patterns of behaviour that were used to manipulate me, to make me compliant to what he wanted.
Of course, but it's small things. Like if I was dating someone, he said, I will never have my phone around you. I'd think, why? What have you got to hide? But because the step-by-step framework had been given to you as to why, that made complete sense.
It did. It also meant that we didn't take any pictures together.
Which is fine. I don't need pictures. I'm not going to question that. But
No.
In hindsight, it makes a lot of sense in the bigger picture of the puzzle. Yeah.
Yeah. So every little step is there. It's in place.
Right.
And after 3 months of the grooming, we finally agreed to meet in person. There'd already been a time about 8 weeks in where he vanished and just disappeared.
For how long?
A couple of weeks.
So you were texting him and it was that were delivering or what?
The communication just stopped.
How scary for you. You
It
must
was
be
like I'd been
terrified.
ghosted.
Yeah.
And that was a new turn of phrase at the time.
Yeah.
And I was gutted.
Did you
was
think
really
he'd been
disappointed.
ghosted or did you think something had happened to him?
I didn't think something had happened to him at that point.
Yeah, okay.
This was before we'd met in person.
Yeah.
But there'd been a really, really good connection.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I really thought we were getting on well. I'm really gutted.
Yeah.
And what did I do wrong?
The bubble had been burst a
The
little
bubble
bit.
had been burst a bit, yeah. And then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, he just sent kisses through on a text.
The audacity of men.
Yep. And I, at that point, having been through with my children's father, it was a low-level self-esteem bashing relationship.
Great.
Was going to put my big girl pants on and I was not going to be, oh, thank God you're okay. I wasn't going to text back like that. I just put Santa ? On it. And he sent back, haha, I love your sense of humour. And the chat all of a sudden started up again. And then within a matter of days, I'd set up WhatsApp on my phone,
Also
chatting
quite
with some friends.
fairly new.
It was new.
Yeah.
At that point, yeah. And from that point, the messaging really ramped up. And within a week, we had a date set to meet.
How exciting for you at that point, right?
And it really was.
Let's take you back to those emotions. Like you're thinking, I'm meeting this guy. He seems genuine. I found a good one here.
Yeah.
So what was the date set? Where were you going to meet him?
So because of the way that he'd set the expectations.
That's what I was thinking about. Yep.
Yeah. So we're back to that. I told you I work really long hours. And he was travelling out of London to come and see me. It was an hour and 20 minutes drive, which I felt grateful that he was willing to drive that far.
You can't be tough on yourself because you are anyone who would take that journey to see you, you'd feel grateful, right?
Yeah.
But again, him highlighting that to you, I'm making all this effort for you. You're worth all my effort.
Yeah.
Better make it worth it when I'm there now.
But it was also too late to be going out to dinner.
Aha.
So, and no, with the traffic, wasn't quite sure when he was going to turn up.
So we can't make a reservation. And,
Yep. So we'd already had all that conversation. So it was like, just come. We'll see how we get on. I'd put all the safety measures in place with neighbours around. Someone's come in. I had an incredibly tall teenager, over 6 foot, in the house as well.
Yeah.
So all safeguarding was kind of in place. And I said, well, look, just come, let's have a cup of coffee. I'll cook you dinner.
Yeah.
Here. And
also, like, it's nice having someone in your home and entertaining them. It's not like, I know it sounds, in hindsight, people are going, oh my God, you invited them to your house. But of course, we didn't, that was, guys, this was pre-Madeleine McCann, like everyone was scared of the world.
And we'd been chatting for 3 months as well prior to that. So he turned up at my door. I was so nervous. And I'd had a drink, just one.
Of course.
To try and steady my nerves. And he knocked on my door. I opened the door and he looked down and he went, hang on a sec, close the door. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So I closed the door and then 2 minutes later, he knocked on the door again and I opened the door and he went, I'm so sorry. I wanted to look my best and I'd forgotten to put my jacket on. And I didn't want you to think the worst of me.
Oh, how swoon-like. Very gentlemanly.
And I said, don't be so silly.
But
Come
also,
in.
he thinks I'm worth it.
Thinks I'm worth
He
the
thinks
effort.
I'm a lady. Yeah. Where he's romantic. It's romantic. Yeah.
And then I said, don't be so silly, come in.
Yeah.
And he walked in and he literally scooped me up in his arms, kissed me on the forehead and just said, I'm so pleased to finally meet you.
Oh, puddle. I'd be a puddle.
Yeah, I was.
Oh my God.
So he then took his coat off and he kicked his shoes off in the porch. And I said, come on, let's get a cup of tea. So he walked through, followed through behind me.
Yeah.
He laid his then suit jacket over the back of the chairs as we walked through to the
Like
kitchen.
he'd lived there 100 years.
And then he leaned on the worktop with his arms back and his legs crossed in front of him while I made a cup of tea, like he had done it for the last 20 years.
And do you know what's interesting about that is part of the main thing, worry you think about when you're meeting someone who you've had a connection with is going to be awkward. He immediately takes control of that situation, gives you all the indicators and signifiers. I'm comfortable in your presence. You should be comfortable in mine.
Yeah. This is safe. This is normal. This is how it's meant to be.
I'm at home.
Yeah.
You should be at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And that's how they make you feel.
It's really controlling the energy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Very interesting. Yeah.
And that was it. And then we saw each other literally a couple of times a week for 6 months.
And that interests me because you said he had a family.
Mm-hmm.
And so was he living in London away from the family to give him that freedom?
Yes. And that's how he did what he did. So his family lived up north. And he was literally working away, based in London, but flying to Europe.
Because he was with the aviation
But
company.
not quite as much as
he was probably
said he was.
Now, I have a question on logistics. Did he stay the night or did you stay the night with him?
No, he did stay the night.
And did he ever talk on the phone during that time? I know you said he was no phones, but...
Not with anyone else.
Not his wife, not his kid. Well, maybe his kids would be less suspicious, but...
Yeah, but no, there was no phone calls.
Okay. And so did you, from then to the 14 months, did you have any indication, any suspicion, something's off?
There were times when things happened.
Right.
So the love bombing had kicked in at this point.
And just in case someone doesn't know what love bombing is, you should be lucky you've not been a subject to it. But just explain that to him.
So after the grooming process where they have pulled all this information out of you and they literally create a character that mirrors you, and that on top of them having this incredible charisma is how they create that soulmate connection, because they're literally mirroring your qualities back at you.
Yeah.
Once they've got that open door, they then start the love bombing. The love bombing is where you are absolutely bombarded with attention and affection.
It becomes a dopamine hit for you, I imagine.
It's a
Addictive.
massive, it is. It's a huge dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And when you're the sort of person that has got low self-esteem or self-worth, that is addictive and it's powerful.
Yes.
And it's not just lovely words. It's that they want all of your attention. He was possessive over me. He wanted to know where I was, what I was doing. And for someone who had never felt particularly valued, that was nice. It felt safe.
It felt like someone cares about me.
Cared, and I felt wanted.
I've got an anchor in the world who is pulling me back, wondering where I am, watching out for me.
They value you.
And actually we can talk about that in the next part we're going to get to, about the types of victims that are typically targeted.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. There's a real...
it is.
So he starts love bombing you.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, I need the brakes on a little bit. I don't know what's going on. Did you ever question him directly in that?
No. Because I'm the sort of personality type that it's rare that I have a connection with someone romantically. But when I do, I fall hard and fast.
Yeah.
And it's me that normally keeps that inside because I don't want to scare someone else off.
Yes.
He was
So you're
showing
feeling
me
like the
all
luckiest
those
girl in the
emotions.
world. I don't want to
am.
stuff
He
this up
gets
by
me.
asking silly questions that he takes the wrong way. I'm going to
Yeah.
protect this love, I assume it was at
yeah.
that point.
Yeah. And it was 4 weeks after we met in person, so it was 4 months down the line.
Yeah.
He was leaving one morning and he just casually in the conversation, as he was saying goodbye, I love you.
Oh.
And I remember just going, and it was a shock that he was confirming that he felt what I did.
But also a relief for someone who potentially, like say, hasn't felt valued. Someone saying to you, I'm validating your feelings.
Yeah.
I see you and I feel the same way.
And I feel the same way.
It's so casual to me. I'm saying it as I'm off out the door.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It wasn't a massive forced gesture.
Yeah.
It just came so naturally.
This could be my everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very normal thing. Okay. So
yeah. Time went on.
Yeah.
Christmas came and he had already pre-warned me that Christmas was the time he took most of his holiday from work so that he could spend it with his kids.
Lovely. What a family man.
What a family man.
Mm.
But those weeks pressed on and then he'd said he was ill and I didn't see him for, I think it was just over 4 weeks.
Golly.
And I was getting to the point, having had this intense...
The arm had been cut off.
It was the weirdest feeling. It really was. And I remember messaging him and saying, is everything all right? He's like, yeah, I'm really ill. And he had sent this voice message where we sounded absolutely awful.
Pretty similar to what I did at the start.
Yeah. And then it got to January and it was just past my birthday. And then he was coming. But I'd said to my neighbour before he arrived, I think I'm going to end things.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, she did say it's such a shame you seem like you were really getting on, but...
Go for it.
Yeah. So he came in and I had not said a word at this point. So he came in, went into the kitchen as I was to make a cup of tea. And then without me saying a word, he came and snuggled behind me while I was making tea, put his head on my shoulder. And he went, you never guess what happened over Christmas. And I was like, what? He says, you know that film you bought me, The Grey? It came on the telly. And I went, oh. And he said, and when it came on, I went, oh, I watched this with Anna. And he said, and everyone was there. And they went, who's Anna? He said, so I've told them all about you. And I was like...
I was thinking about you the whole time. Everyone was talking about you. You were never far from my thoughts.
Yeah. Mum said they're really excited to meet you. She's invited you to a family wedding in June.
Don't you dare break up with me because everyone knows about you.
And so without me saying a word, he was so good at reading me.
It's an impressive ability.
It is.
It's a honed skill.
It is.
Yeah.
I also know now that this is called intermittent reinforcement.
Ah.
So another psychological tip that creates this emotional roller coaster of hormones and chemicals in your body.
Right.
So you have that huge dopamine hit at the top.
Yes.
Then, without warning, they will vanish. So he did that once over a weekend.
Yeah.
The fear that is induced that you've lost that incredible connection is so consuming. You get a huge spike of cortisol and your serotonin drops. What you crave is getting that feeling back from the beginning.
Going back to normal.
When they come back and then there's everything suddenly lovely, the dopamine rush again.
But also your body thinks, oh no, I'm back to safety.
It feels safe
here.
again.
I'm going to stay here. Let's not do anything.
Exactly.
Let's just see what happens.
Exactly.
It's a very survival instinct, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And so that's what he'd done then. And this is what he did.
Right.
Just before Christmas, just over Christmas. So everything was back. And then things were ramping up again at that point. We were going to make plans to go away for our first weekend at Valentine's.
Oh.
Yeah. And then a couple of weeks later, he turned up and his face was ashen. And he was standing just in the kitchen door. And I looked at him and he had tears in his eyes. And I said, what on earth is the matter? And he said, my mum's been diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
God.
And I was devastated for him. I was like, oh my God, what's happened? And he said, well, over Christmas she was having symptoms. We took her for tests and it's just been confirmed. And he went into great detail about all the symptoms that she was having, about the treatments they'd said that she would need to have.
Like a research, like he knew.
Yeah, he knew it all. And I was devastated for him. I was absolutely devastated for him. And he said, the only thing is I'm I'm just so sorry, but it's probably going to affect our plans because I've got to deal with everything that's going on with mum.
It's an interesting, sorry, just on thinking really critically about what's happening there. It's a very interesting choice of cancer. As a woman, that's a very sacred part of us.
It is.
You feel for her as a woman, as his mother. Like, it's not like, you know, she's broken a leg, or
no,
he went straight for the essence of a woman to make you feel like,
and
of course,
cancer is something that a lot of us have got, either someone in our family or someone we know that they've dealt with.
And who in their right mind would turn around and say, I still want to go away for Valentine's?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And it had the effect that I was never going to then pressurize him. Over the next couple of days, he was texting me, you know, I'm just so sorry this has happened. Please don't leave me because we can't, you know, stick to our plans. I can't do this without you. And I was like, what on earth makes you think that I'd leave you when you're going through this? But there was part of me talking about, did you ever recognise, did you ever see any red flags? I felt some things. And after he told me about that, I was sitting there the next day and I did have a little feeling. And I was like, would anyone ever be so evil to lie about that?
It's funny, isn't it? Because people say trust your gut, trust your gut. Like, you do have a guttural instinct, but common sense says no one with any half of a heart would lie about their mother having cancer.
Yeah, and he'd shown me nothing that made me think that.
I'm just overthinking things.
But the other part of it was I started questioning myself. You're just paranoid. You've been in a bad relationship before.
Baggage.
Don't bring that baggage with you. You're going to destroy something that is amazing.
He's great to you.
He's never done anything to show you that he doesn't care. So time went on. It got to our 6-month anniversary. And that morning after our 6 months anniversary, I didn't know that was ever going to be the last time that I saw him.
What?
He was supposed to be coming back that night. He'd said to me as he left, I'll see you tonight. And off he went. I'd been really poorly. I'd had a chest infection and I was exhausted. And I'd said to him, look, no worries. He phoned in the day and said, I don't think I'm going to come tonight. I've started feeling a bit rough. I might have what you have. I'm going to stay up in London tonight. And I was like, it's absolutely fine. And I was exhausted anyway. So that went on. And very shortly after that, Brexit happened. And he'd already said it was going to be crazy stressful because of his work.
The regulations.
Everything like that. And then his mum's health supposedly took a turn for the worse, and the weeks were stretching on. And it was me actually that turned to him and said, please don't stress yourself out about having to come and drive to come and see me. Let's just keep in touch so you know you've got someone to talk over things. And that was the last time that I saw him.
Oh, and I feel for you so much because I can imagine you overanalyzed that last message.
Oh, yeah.
Like you were an FBI agent.
Oh, we still talked.
Oh.
5 more months.
What?
Yeah. So for the next 5 months, we were still chatting.
Yeah.
And phoning. We were still chatting. And as I spent time away from him, those little gut instincts were...
The curtain starts rising.
Getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
So whenever I had it, bearing in mind we were still constantly chatting.
Yeah, but is it still I can't see you because of mum and all this kind of stuff going on, and you thought, oh...
Yeah, and I'd started a new job as well. So there was a lot going on. But when I felt that paranoia, I would sort of test him. And I would say, I know this is still really stressful for you with everything that's going on. Would it be easier for you if we just left things for now? And then when things are better, you can let me
I don't
know.
want to be another thing to do.
Yeah. And I just, exactly that. I won't be another pressure. For 5 times I did that over the 5 months. And every time I did it, he flipped on me. This is just a really difficult time we're going through. I can't get through this without you. I need you there for me.
Right.
And I was so relieved.
The validation's there.
Yeah, it was It's who I am.
Nature, yeah.
It's in my nature. And he knew that. So he kept me there. But as the time went on, that hold he had over me had started to weaken and this feeling was getting stronger. And it got to a point in October. So it was May was the last time I saw him, and we were in October. And something was just biting at me. And I thought he'd gone slightly quieter. And I was just, the paranoia was growing. So I thought, I'm just going to set the app back up and see if he's on it. So it was attached to Facebook at the time.
Oh, Plenty of Fish.
No, it was Tinder.
Tinder was attached to Facebook at the time.
Yeah, it was.
God, dangerous
So
these days.
I know, right? It was Zoosk before. So I set it up. It pulls the information from your Facebook profile, your name, your age, and your location. And I swapped the picture out for a stock image because I wasn't interested in talking to people. I just wanted to do a little search. Yeah. So I did that. I'm searching through. I'd put the same demographics in as before. Within 20 swipes, I came across his profile.
Heart shattering for you.
Stomach through the floor. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, God, that would have been awful.
Yeah. It was near enough the same, just slightly different. So I messaged him and I said, I really need to speak to you. And then he was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I'm at the table with clients. And I was like, I'm not doing this over text. I want to speak to you. He said,
go on, girl.
No. Is it your parents' health you're worrying me? Is it your health? Are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this over text. I want to speak to you. He said, I'm leaving the table. And he came and phoned me. So as he phoned me, I then sent through the profile. And I said, what's this?
I love that. Go on, girl. That's a boss move.
Yeah. And he said, I don't know what this is. I deleted the app from my phone when we met, just like you did. And I said, well, why it's still there? But what I had in the back of my head was that I just read an article that said so many people were getting caught out because they thought if they deleted the app from their phone,
deactivated it deleted the account. So you're thinking,
So now I'm back to, oh my God, have I just challenged him and this is what's really happened?
Oh no, it's good. Yeah.
So he said, look, I'm just not interested. I've got so much going on at the moment with mum. I'm not interested looking for other women. I've told you that.
Yeah.
And anyway, we ended the call. But he went radio silent, as in completely silent. That was on the Tuesday. On the Thursday, you can imagine I'm in a mess.
What have I done?
What have I done?
Yeah. He's
I've
never
just
shown me
destroyed
any
it.
signs.
That's it.
My paranoia got the better of me. I should have just spoken to him. Yeah.
So I'd already deleted the app again from my phone. I put it on again. So I set the app up. As it came to life, it suddenly went, you've got a match. You've got a message. And I'm like, how? I've not talked with anybody. So as I open it up, it's his profile. And without realising, I'd swiped on it when I was screenshotting it.
With your stock image.
And in the messages, it said, hi, Anna, I'm Anthony. Let me lead. Where were you from?
I would have burst into tears. I don't think I would have had any composure within me.
I was a mess.
Yep.
It was 10 o'clock on the Thursday night. And, but there was something very different about the conversation that was coming off of it that quickly. And whereas it had been 3 or 4 weeks that we chatted on the app originally before we exchanged numbers and then continued to talk for another couple of months, he was asking for a phone number already.
So he'd picked up the intensity of the chase.
Very much.
Yeah.
And I didn't have another phone number at that point.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I'm then having a conversation with him, trying to pull information. So how long have you been on here dating?
Why?
Oh, I'm new to this. Yeah, I'm new to this. I'm going, what are you talking about? So then he asked for my phone number and I was like, yeah, well, look, this is a bit quick. Maybe tomorrow. And he said, yeah, it's late. It's late now. Let's talk tomorrow. So I went and got my dad's phone.
Your poor dad.
My poor dad. He doesn't use WhatsApp. Yeah. So I said, Dad, can I borrow your phone? And I set WhatsApp up.
Did you tell your dad what you're up to or no?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Did. And I set WhatsApp up and I sent him the number. And then that night after school, I sat with 2 phones on my lap, my phone and
You
my
must
dad's.
have had like a equal amount of rage and anticipation and fear.
Yeah, everything. Every emotion.
Like you must have been,
I was shaking.
yeah, adrenaline up.
I was.
Yeah.
So I was chatting as if it was both of us. And what was very apparent was what had occurred within 3 months of talking with me was now being crammed into this very short, intense conversation with very sexualized voice messages being left and stuff like that. It was horrible. It felt
Icky.
It did, sordid.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And it
You
got
must have been thinking, who
who are you?
Yeah.
This is not the
Who's
man
the gentleman
that I know.
that wouldn't see me without a blooming jacket on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where he was asking for photos and I didn't have any
What
to
kind
send
of
him.
photos?
Yeah. Got photos of me.
Oh, golly.
And I didn't have any to send.
No.
Because it was a stock image. And then, so what I did, I sent photos of me on that chat with one of those memes that says, if people got paid for being liars, I know someone that would be a millionaire. Remembering at this point, I knew nothing about his actual past. And I sent it to him and he just said goodbye and blocked me on both phones on WhatsApp. And that was
That quick.
It was that quick. So at that point, I'm devastated. I feel sick.
Tell
to
me
stomach.
because we this is the point of the podcast that I wanted to talk about is the victim blaming. That happens, right?
Yeah.
You're a teacher. You're intelligent. You're emotionally secure. You're a normal, everyday person. And you're left, I assume, feeling embarrassed.
Yeah.
Feeling fooled.
Yeah.
And like, what's your initial reaction then? Like, did you think, F him, I'm going to get him back? Or were you thinking, oh my God, everyone's going to think I'm an idiot?
No, I was devastated.
Yeah.
My first instinct was not actually knowing anything about him as I very quickly came.
Yeah.
I was scared.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking that I'd just been played again, why have I let myself down?
Oh, man, that's so unfair.
This has been 14 months of my life that was a lie.
How long between the devastation and the rage? Like, that's what I'm curious about, because
it was the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So that first week I was suicidal. I just couldn't believe that this had happened to me again. I was having this same experience because my children's father had cheated.
Yes.
And it was,
what a prick.
it was, yeah. And it was at that point where I was like, I just can't believe this has happened to me again. And I'm not a bad person. Why is it happening to me again?
Yeah, you go into it with such good intentions, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
you're not duplicitous at all. Like,
Yeah.
it's not fair that that has impacted you. And when you say you're suicidal, that is the most heartbreaking thing to hear.
Yeah. I just remember, and because also when you've had experience in the past, that trauma then comes back.
Oh, it feels reaffirmed rather
does.
than, like it's human nature for all of us. If something happens 3 times, twice, what?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fact now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so you must deserve it.
You must
is
deserve
where
it.
you end up at.
It's just reconfirming all the things you think about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just about to realise that when something was niggling at me more, that was he just a player? And I started to do some more research on him. So everything he told me, and I've got a ridiculously good memory, where he was born, what his parents' name were, his birthday, everything like that. I'm a family historian as well.
Oh,
so
he picked the
I
wrong
started
girl.
using all of that knowledge of how to use the records to try and see who he was. And I'm doing all this stuff and it's like blank, nothing. Right, he said he's in the legal profession. That means he's got to be on the roll.
But so just before you go on to that, being spurred into action, I'm not necessarily sure. Would I do that? I don't know. I don't know if I'd be a ball on the couch. But at what point of that, from the 6 weeks, did you get to the action stations part?
It was because a friend had said to me, it was just, so it was 2 days later, I did this research and basically it came out that he didn't exist. The character he'd created for me.
How scary. You've let
was
this man into your
terrifying.
home, into your heart, into your sons, I assume.
But when I reverse searches had just come out at that point. And I ran all of the pictures I had of him through it. Nothing came up. And then I ran, because I just managed to screen grab it when I sent it to him the other day. I ran that picture through it and it came up as a Bollywood actor called Saif Ali Khan. And I was like, what the absolute hell?
Yeah.
And I started researching that actor, and some of the stuff that he'd told about his past was matching some of the stuff that Tony had said. So at that point, he'd blocked me on WhatsApp. I messaged on text message to see whether he'd blocked me on the device, and he hadn't.
Okay.
And so I just sent Saif Ali Khan ? And he sent back, you knew. I went, excuse me, what did I know? He went, you knew. I went, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. Who are you? And
who are you?
Who are you? And at that point, the fear really kicked in. And people had said to me, he's been in your house on his own. How do you know? Like when I took the kids to school, he'd stayed in the house while I took the kids to school before.
Why wouldn't he? Yeah.
Why wouldn't he?
Make him come on the school run, right?
And I was then really worried. They said, he might have taken a loan out in your name.
Oh, totally. There's loads of the possibilities are endless what he could do. Yeah.
He knew everything about me. I knew nothing about him. And
even
that
at the
was
time
fearful.
You thought you did, right?
Like, yeah, at the time I thought I did.
Dear reader, she had done her due diligence.
Yeah.
She'd asked all the right questions and done all the right stuff. Yeah.
So it got to that point where I was like, shit.
Yeah.
I need to find out who this man really is. So over the next 6 weeks, I was keeping in touch with him. He was so professional at what he was doing. We were trying to draw information out of him all the time.
At that point, you must have been thinking, is there no one I can report him to? Were you reporting him to Tinder, and what was going on there?
We weren't reporting the profile at that point. It got to the point where, knowing what I knew, he'd told me that, on a phone call one night, I'm just coming through the Blackwall Tunnel on his way to me. He'd said they had offices at Canary Wharf, but also said that they had offices in other places close to airports and stuff like that. And I said to my friend, look, this is where he is. It's 70 kilometres. And if I do that radius, it cuts right through where the Blackwall Tunnel is. I think he's up there. And I said, I'm going to get in the car and go. We were connected with him at that point.
I'm so impressed with you.
So we went.
For all of this, but also having the wherewithal to be like, nope, you're not getting away with it.
No, I needed to get some control back.
Yes.
That's where I was.
Yeah.
That, I needed to get some control back in my life.
Yeah.
And also I was scared about him. If I didn't get him now and the trail went cold, if something happened, like there was a loan taken out on my house or whatever.
You were acting a little bit out of fear, right?
I needed to get some information on this guy. So the miles are ticking down. I knew we were going in the right direction. As we got to the Blackwall Tunnel, there's a signpost for an airport. And I was like, because it's traffic jam outside that tunnel. And I looked at it and I went, that's where he is. It's the one airport he's never mentioned to me. Knowing all the reverse psychology that he's used. So we drove round and we parked. There was one row of cars in front of us. Stopped the car. This was a late November afternoon. Within 5 minutes, he walked down the steps of the office block along the edge of the car park. And there he was after 6 months standing in front of me, smoking a cigarette.
How did he get a fake plate?
It's not a fake plate. It was just that they'd bought sequential ones.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And my friend got out the car and he went up and asked him for a light. And
the
then,
guy.
Yeah.
Love that you went with the
Yeah.
Shout out to allies.
And he followed him up into the building. It's this massive double-fronted building. And as he went in, I then saw Tony appear in the top window here and then recognised the backdrop of the photos, a lot of the photos that he'd sent me. And then my friend came out and he went, that's their legal team on the top floor. Got back in the car. He said, I can hear your heart beating on the other side of the car.
Oh, you poor
I felt so sick.
I bet.
And we went on LinkedIn and we looked up London City Airport legal team. And this profile came up that didn't have a picture on it, but it had this name. I won't say it.
Bloody well should.
I know. And I said, that's him. I said, look, he's lengthened his first name and he shortened his last name. And then we put that name into the internet and up came one photograph of him, the only photograph of him online. And it was a black and white corporate image from about 10, 15 years ago. It was the only picture online, which is obviously where he got the idea for the one that he'd used on his dating profile.
And so legally, in the legal profession, you have to have integrity, you have to do all this kind of stuff, and that's why they're struck off for...
You'd think.
Exactly. So did you contact his employer or I don't know who the legal body is, but...
I spent 2 weeks after that, once I had his real name, I spent 2 weeks researching the hell out of him to find out who he was. And I think by the end of it, I probably knew more about him than he did.
Yeah.
I discovered at that point that he'd been married for 16 years.
Poor wife. Did you speak to the wife?
I did later. Yeah, when I knew that there was a lot more of us.
Could you tell me about how you approached that?
So I got an agreement to meet him when I finally texted him his real name. And he'd given me the whatever you want to call it, the excuse that he and his wife, yes, he was married, but they lived in name only. They lived separate lives. And I didn't know whether that was true or not. I messaged his sister because I'd found his sister when I was researching. And I said, look, there's a lot of women that are involved in this. And while if they do live separate lives, I don't want to go in and cause a problem because for no reason. Because if they live separate lives, that's
measured, well thought out, considerate thing to say.
Yeah.
You don't know their history. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to go and upset the family.
Yeah.
If they just live and they just get on. But if she is believing that they're still in a close relationship, I know from my experience with him, and that was that after building trust, he convinced me to have unprotected sex with him.
Good grief.
But then it was in the January, I'd got proof. Although I knew that there were other women, I didn't have proof of it to take to anyone. And if the police had thought it was just me, I didn't think I was worth reporting it to the police. But when I was given proof that phone was dedicated to his fake life, his double life.
But how many women are you talking about here?
Now
No,
I know.
at that time.
I didn't know how many at that time, but I knew that the whole time that I was with him on WhatsApp, he was online from day one. And that phone was dedicated to his fake identity, not the family and his kids that he told me he was online chatting with.
Yeah, right.
It was women from day one.
Jeez Louise. And so had you made the decision to go to the police at that stage?
It was when I was given proof that phone was dedicated to his fake life because it had come up on a screenshot, Anthony Ray, rather than his real name, which with WhatsApp, it comes up with the name that you type in the account.
I'll give someone a prize if they can work out who he is and post his name in the comments.
Yeah.
No need to keep him safe.
No, he doesn't need to be kept safe anymore. So I went to the police then and I was laughed at. They said to me, so your boyfriend lied to you, what do you want us to do about it? They did not understand. I was saying to them, you don't understand, this guy is using dating apps like a predator to hunt for victims to use for his own self-gratification.
Also, there's an element of like the deception thing, but if someone had slept with me unprotected and I didn't know who they were, do you know how violating that is?
It is violating. And that feeling was huge.
Yeah.
Not only had he lied to me about his identity, he'd also lied to me about the fact he was married and that he'd put me in an open relationship with God knows how. There were 5 women.
That's what I mean.
Is
you're having unprotected sex with someone who's
you
God
just don't
knows
know
where he's been.
Yeah. And you know the reason that I was with him was because he told me the intent for our relationship was a long-term, serious, exclusive relationship, and I was not in that kind of relationship. It was for him. It was an open relationship. So it was just so violating to know that I'd been used.
But also in the police reacting the way. Now, knowing all that you know now, what would have been the appropriate police response?
It should have been, are you aware of any other victims? Let us go and bring him in and find out what exactly has been going on. That should have been their response. If they had, they would have found out what I did over the next few months, which was that because they would not speak to me in any serious way, I started a petition. The local paper had picked up my petition. It was around sex by deception.
Yes.
And
that's exactly what I was just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then it got picked up nationally. And when the national newspapers put it through, although if anybody reads them, just know that the press love sensationalising things and they're not that accurate. Another victim came forward immediately. And then...
Because did they name him in the article?
They put the name that he used and the picture of the Bollywood actor. Everybody recognised it.
Yeah.
So over the next amount of months, victims kept coming forward.
Because that's the photos everyone's seen.
Yeah. Including victims where he'd aggressively raped them back in the day.
Oh my God.
So his behaviour had very much changed over time, like I'd seen it change.
Yes.
In the beginning, there was the same MO of the grooming, setting expectations. Once he'd got that first agreement to meet in exactly the same way, let's just meet for coffee, let's see how we get on, but always at one of our houses. Twice, going back to, it was 2011, 2012, I've got 2 women that he aggressively raped once he got there. But that was it for him.
Breaks my heart.
One time, and then that was it, done.
The power, he'd got what he needed, which was the power, control and the chase.
Yeah. And it was done. And that was the end of all the hard work for the grooming. It was one time, that was it. And then we had a sexual assault in 2014 where he was rejected. He did not take that well. He was rejected at the door. She wouldn't let him in. And she ended up fighting him off and getting him out. But then as he got...
terrifying, because you said he's a big guy as well, right? You know?
He was, 6 foot.
Yeah.
He was a big guy. He was 6 foot. And then as we got to my time in 2015, he'd slowed things down because he realised, I think his need changed and he loved the power and control that he got through that deceit.
The adoration.
And the adoration of the constant new relationships.
Sorry, just a question. Did the woman, no judgment if they didn't, but did they report the sexual assault and the rape? Like, was that on his police file? No. So,
no.
But had the police taken you seriously, this pattern would have emerged. And we know with these kind of perpetrators, they don't just stop.
No, absolutely not. So as every victim came forward, I kept them going back to the police.
Yeah.
It even got to the point with the aggressive rapes that I went in and I said, now I've got this victim. And she went, and it was a woman. Now that sounds more like rape. Are you going to do anything? No.
Sorry, dear listener, listen to the silence. My jaw was hanging at the floor.
Yeah.
And that woman, you've convinced her, let's go to the police. They'll believe
we did in the end.
Yeah, but for the police to have that kind of reaction.
Oh, yeah, but they hadn't contacted her at that point.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It was just, are you going to do something now? No. So in the end, it was after 2 years of fighting and I was up to 12 women at that point.
Because I remember you saying, sorry to interrupt there,
That's
but
right.
When we were doing the prep, Anna, we were talking about how there was no money exchange, so it was probably a less tangible crime. But when you're thinking about the motivation, the intention and the drivers for these behaviours, it's power, it's control.
It is absolutely that.
It's a gateway drug.
Yeah.
But we'll say it, not all men, but not all men have fraudulent Tinder profiles, you know? Like they shouldn't. There's a reason these things feel wrong. They are wrong. They shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's far more of them than we like to think about as far as men that use this behaviour pattern as a way to get their needs met. There's far too many of it. In fact, back in 2016, there was a big report done and online dating was actually cited as being the next big threat where sexual assault was as far as dating apps were because they were seeing such a huge spike in men using it.
I've personally had horror stories and women I know have had horror stories. It's a very vulnerable place as a woman to be. And it's not to say it's not vulnerable for men. Of course it is. You're meeting strangers as well. But there's a 6 foot man in front of me and I'm 5'5".
Yeah.
So I'm actually 5'3".
Oh, bless you.
But sorry, when we were talking earlier, and I said I wanted to talk about the type of victims that are typically. I was reading a report in the FT this morning on this, and they were saying it's typically people who have been through cancer treatment, have been widowed, have had a family member die, are going through something personal that makes the crack. They're a little bit more susceptible. And when you were talking about how he was asking loads of questions, getting the ammo essentially on how to manipulate you, people are a little bit more open to sharing their wounds when they've been wounded.
Yeah, they are.
And it goes back to the point that they're not unintelligent women. And there's that really unfair TV show. What is it like? 90 Day Fiancé. And it's usually some woman. And you see the Daily Mail articles of some woman who has met some man in some country and she's given him 60 grand. But it brings me sort of to the point of the article that said that there's been a 37% increase. And I'm going to say that again, a 37% increase this year on romance fraud. And we're not talking just about money. No. It is primarily dictated with money with the pig butchering and things that we've spoken about previously on this podcast. But it's the use of AI and deep fakes.
Absolutely.
And I, for one, would be absolutely easily bamboozled if I was in a state of vulnerability by some handsome hunk of a man trying to be my friend. Well, not now married, but you know, like it's not just silly people who, you know, are stupid.
It's not. There's such a misconception around that.
But the media doesn't help. I don't understand. They need to interview the lawyers and the doctors and the teachers and the people who have that innate credibility in society saying, no, it happens to me too.
Yeah. And it literally can happen to anybody.
I'm a CEO of a family. Like normal, you know, or I'm a reputable person in the community. It's so damaging.
It is.
The way that they report it.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. But it's also a huge lack of understanding and education about how it works. So whether it's a domestic violence relationship where you've got people of this personality type, you know, narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic traits, they are the individuals that have these personality types where it comes very naturally to them. They are incredibly charismatic. They know how to use those words to manipulate.
Well, they have no problem using people as a...
No. Yeah. And they go through that whole process of grooming, love bombing, trauma bonding. There's coercive and controlling tactics in there, the gaslighting. That starts, we recognise that within domestic violence, but actually it is the vehicle for all types of romance fraud. So whether it was mine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, I'm wondering if we should call it romance abuse.
Like, it is abuse.
That's what I mean is the fraud gives it a fluffy title.
Yeah.
Fraud is still not serious in the public's mind, I don't think.
No, it's not.
And it's really, And
it also takes away where so many people attach fraud just to money. But the fact is that the definition of fraud in itself is to personal gain by misrepresentation. And that doesn't necessarily mean money. Whenever there's a gain, like putting a fraudulent qualification in and then being a doctor, it's fraud.
And that's still, you know, I don't think we're talking about the side of fraud enough about, yes, I mean, the side of money and fraud and all that kind of stuff and banking for my banking audience, it's pretty well known now. There's a lot of documentaries of these, you know, scam farms and AI and things. But it's a really interesting point you raise about the risk women are at with these fraudulent profiles and activities. Yeah. Our personal safety. Like we're taking people into our homes, into our beds, into our hearts. It's very dangerous. Why do we take date rape more seriously?
Why do we?
Why more serious? Why is it more serious about date rape? And no, it is very serious, don't get me wrong. Date rape versus romance rape.
Yeah, and it is.
It's romance rape.
The psychological manipulations and the way that our bodies react to that psychological manipulation is their version of a date rape drug.
Well, totally, because the hormones are incredibly powerful.
They are.
They can mess with you like anyone who's been pregnant knows that.
Yeah.
So there was that case many years ago, and I think you and I spoke about it, of that, was it a woman pretending to be a man or the other way around?
Yeah, I think it's the McNally case.
Yes. Yeah, and that was the first time.
It was a woman that was pretending to be a man.
Yes, and that was fraudulent identity or something she got done on or whatever it may be. But how is that different?
And it shouldn't be classed
shouldn't be. No.
differently. It shouldn't. And the thing that society needs to understand, if we're ever going to stop the stigma around this, is to understand that the vehicle to all types of romance fraud is exactly the same. Whether you start with the manipulations that happen in domestic abuse, right the way through the in-person romance fraud spectrum to the online ones, where they build exactly the same behaviours into the scripts that they use. So, you know, people will blame the women that have only had the online experiences and say, yeah, but you never even met them. But the psychological manipulation is exactly the same. And with AI, those criminals have got so much software at their fingertips to legitimise with the deep fakes, with the voice cloning.
But then there's the blackmailing that can come from it. They've got saucy pictures of you.
There is. That comes at the end with the romance fraud. Yeah, the sextortion side of it is dire.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so at what point did you set up your organisations? And tell us about them.
So Catch the Catfish was set up back in 2017. That was after I'd ended up seeing a therapist for a few weeks. It was her that actually said, I think knowledge is power to you. I want you to go and research narcissists and psychopaths. My biggest issue was that I could not understand how he had done what he did to me.
How's he getting away with this?
No, it was more how he'd got under my skin. I could not understand how he'd got under my skin the way he did.
Yeah.
Because I've always been that person that's really brilliant at recognising nasty people.
Yeah.
And he'd got completely under my radar. So that scared me. How did he do that? So she said, go research. So I did. And it was then that I learned about their behaviours, about mirroring, all of this. And I gradually started, that was my eye opener. And I wanted somewhere to put everything I'd learned in terms of my experience, where he was leading a double life to do this. So that's when Catch the Catfish started. Very quickly.
And it started as a website?
A website, yeah. So very quickly, I then started getting so many emails from people, not just with my experience, but where it was clear it was an online experience. And I'd never heard of that fraud before. It was clear there was a financial motive behind it. The photographs had been stolen. They'd not met in person. But when they were sending me the messages from their abusers, and I call them abusers,
of course,
they're criminals, but they are abusers, they paralleled mine.
Like in terms of the cadence and the things that they were
all
saying.
All of the script that was being used absolutely paralleled mine. I could see the grooming. I could see the love bombing. I could see the trauma bonding going on there. And I was like, oh my God, no wonder they've become compliant. This is exactly what happened with me. So I had immediate understanding and empathy, wanted to go and learn about who these criminals were. Very quickly found out they were known as Yahoo boys.
Yahoo boys?
Yep. So that particular type of romance fraud originates out of West Africa. And it's a decades-old scam that started with pen pal and prince, letters from the Nigerian princes. When emails were created, it gave them a door to the world to be able to upscale that.
Because it also used to be the joke, who would fall for those emails? Like, I'm a Nigerian prince, I need £300 to access my fortune, kind of.
Yeah. And then when dating platforms and social media platforms came to being,
they probably rubbed their little hands together and thought, hell yeah.
So that's how those scams evolved right from the start. And the first messaging platform that they used to use was Yahoo Messenger, which is where that name locally came from. So they were then known as the Yahoo boys. And they commit wire fraud. And there's a whole bit of legislation over in Nigeria. So they're called 419 scams.
Yeah.
I discovered that they had training groups that were accessible, where they would train each other. Yeah, just on Facebook and other platforms. So I'd go and hang out with them. I wouldn't talk with them, but I'd hang out with them. And I was collecting all of the information about how they did this, the tools that they used, found all those scripts that they call formats for all the different scenarios that they use. They call victims clients because to them, this is business. When they ask for money, it's known as a billing format. So I was finding all of this stuff where they were teaching each other to make the fake video calls, all this, everything. Oh my
God. So
where to go and find pictures. They would sell packages to the newbies of all the fake identity documents and the pictures and things like that. So I was like, I've got to be able to put all this information somewhere. So COVID hit at this point and I was like, okay, I'm a teacher. I've got to be able to make this stuff educational and accessible to people. So I started pages on Facebook and then Instagram, and I was making posts of the photos that were being used. I was showing how the scam evolved and then looking at the psychological things that were happening in the scam, the processes. More and more people coming forward all the time. The police were at that point investigating my case. So I was told to not do anything more publicly.
Ugh.
And for 3 years, they investigated him because COVID was going on as well.
Yeah.
But once they'd handed it to CPS, and they did hand a huge case
What's
to CPS, the Criminal Prosecution Service, the Crown, well, we call it the Criminal Protection Service, but it's actually the Crown Prosecution Service. And they handed a huge 8-9 victim case, including the 2 aggressive rapes and the sexual assault, as well as ours. And they chucked it out and said it didn't meet their evidence threshold for the one man. But that's another story. So once it had gone to them, I said, I'm still being asked to do stuff and I'm not going to keep quiet anymore.
Yeah.
So I started doing stuff publicly. And then that's when I met Cecilia.
Yes.
And Love Said was then formed.
Wait, tell everyone about Cecilia because they will know her, I think.
Yeah. So Cecilia Philhoy is one of the victims of the Tinder swindler.
She was on Netflix.
On Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so her, Pernilla and Aileen were the victims but there's literally hundreds of victims with him, including businesses.
But she's also like, if you wanted to watch something, that documentary, if you're the only person in the world who hasn't watched it, you must watch it because it really is eye-opening to see the pace of it. You watch and go, I would fall for that.
Yeah.
I would absolutely fall for that.
She uses a phrase that is so pertinent to this, whether it's an in-person one or whether it's an online one, and that's that they put you in the middle of an immersive theatre because there is never just one character. People think with romance fraud, particularly on the online one, that it's one person that's got in touch with you and that within 3 weeks you've given them your life savings, and that's just not how it happens.
No.
They surround you with friends, family, business partners, lawyers, you name it. There's a whole cast around you.
To show the legitimacy of who they are.
Yeah.
And
then also when that ask comes, you've got people pressurising you from every angle.
Yeah.
Which puts you in that hot state.
So the Love Said then, what's the vehicle for?
So the difference between Catch the Catfish and Love Said is whereas Catch the Catfish is very much the victim-facing educational platform where people that do reverse searches, it can show up the pictures that are being used.
Fab.
That brings them to me. People that then have come and found me, learn more about the scams, stuff like that. Love Said is more of an umbrella organisation where it's for all stakeholders of romance fraud. So not just victims, but law enforcement, banking institutions, dating platforms, social media, and any other organisation that may have victims under their community.
And how would they all interact then, the banks and the police and the victims?
So at some point, all of those stakeholders will have part of the victim's journey.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is that I was speaking to so many victims before Love Said was created. It was really clear that the trauma after the fraud, whatever the type of romance fraud that it was almost more traumatic than the fraud itself.
Yeah.
Not only because of the shame that you're going through and the blame that you put on yourself, but then society and everyone that is supposed to be there to help you also not understanding what it is that you've been through and making you feel like an idiot.
Yep.
So first responders, whether that's the police or whether it's the person at the bank that's recognised that something's going on, or anyone else in a community, they need to be able to have a deeper understanding of what romance fraud is and learn how to engage with the victim so that they're not re-traumatising the victim, but also so that they can, for the police, for example, build some trust to be able to get the best evidence from a victim. But if there is the potential for an
and when
inquiry.
people are embarrassed, they shut down.
They do.
Yeah. And so, because obviously I work with banks, how would a bank utilise Love Said if you're in financial crime in a bank?
If they wanted to engage with us, but a lot of them really don't.
Why?
I think they think they know best. I don't think they're particularly interested in being victim-led in their responses. I deal with so many victims and I put their claims forward and I see those letters that come from banks, even when they've admitted responsibility, and the victim blaming language with them is hideous.
Do you think that's the banks trying to protect themselves from litigation or from?
Some of the time, yeah, absolutely.
Be, yeah.
But even where there are supposed specialised fraud teams and they publish that script sometimes that they use, and it's not surprising that they're not successful in the way that they talk to victims. So, one thing that you should never, ever do with a victim that hasn't started to realise themselves yet what's going on is to turn around and say, well, you're wrong. That's a scam.
Don't you see what I can see? Yeah.
Because that immediately shuts the door and the victim is never going to be open to engaging.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think the bank would like to have evidence that they've said to you, this is a scam.
Yeah.
So then they become less liable for refund.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I do place a lot of fraud people in banks as heads of fraud, and they're wonderful people. So it's really surprising to me because they really do give a Scooby about their jobs.
Yeah.
Is there any banks in particular that you think engage with you really well, or any firms that you think have done really well?
Nationwide, because I speak to so many victims, there are banks that stand out as not being great. Nationwide is amazing.
And I saw Jim Winters in the who's the head over there in the FCA. I keep saying FCA. Talk about the FCA too much. FT article. And it was a really empathetic, well-informed response, I thought.
Yeah. This is the problem that we have, that a lot of the time the right words come out, but the actions aren't there. So I would love to be able to work with banks on how they can offer questions that aren't going to shut the conversation down. Lloyds Bank, that was my bank. I used to work for Lloyds Bank. I so wish they would be doing better. A victim being shut in a room with a video and being shown a video is not going to bring them.
What's on the video?
About scams. But this particular victim said, well, that wasn't the scenario that was happening in mine at all.
There's a nuance to my story that you don't know about, you silly bank.
Yeah. And it's like, but that's not what's happening. Do you know in mine?
If you can't picture this happening to you guys, imagine you're in that relationship you've been in years ago and your friends are all going, he's an idiot, but you're so obsessed with him. You're like, no, he's not. You just don't know him.
Yeah.
We've all done that.
You just don't like him.
Yeah,
you don't get him.
We've all done that. You'll make excuse after excuse for something that you think is right. It's human nature. So
yeah.
That's really interesting. And if I'm a family member, let's get to the sort of wrapping up the podcast and some really actionable things for someone to take away. So my family member is in love with someone. He's an older gentleman. This isn't true, by the way. He's an older gentleman and he's in love with someone from another country. There's no money being exchanged, but I know it can't be genuine.
Yeah.
How do I approach it?
So as I said, even with the banks, you never go in there saying you're being scammed.
Yeah.
You've got to stop it now because that's going to shut the conversation down. The best way to help someone is to start planting seeds of doubt. I heard the other day about this situation that sounded really similar to yours. Would it be all right if we look through this together so that we can see if there's any other similarities?
And I would imagine it's hard though, because if I did that to my dad, caveat again, my dad and mum are married and this isn't my dad. But if I did that to my dad, he might say, bugger off. It's none of your business.
But if you start leading them and planting the seeds of doubt, they'll tell you to bugger off.
Going back to your story where you had that little niggle in your gut.
Yep.
And then you maybe someone else saying, hey, it might be worth pulling at the string a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once that seed of doubt is there, over time, it will start to grow. And there will be little things that happen that go, wait a minute, that's what they said before. But you have to show that victim that you're not judging.
Right.
That you're there to talk to at any point.
Yeah.
Never challenge them, tell them they're stupid, tell them they're naive. All that does is, like you said, it shuts the person down.
I would shut down.
And it also isolates them and pushes them further towards the scammer, because the scammer will have said already, they will have coached that victim into saying,
that's scam, that's, domestic abuse. What I want to separate you from your friends. Yeah, friends of family.
So they will always say, your family just don't want you to be happy.
They don't know you like I know you.
Yeah. They wouldn't understand us.
Us. Yes.
So
right.
This is what is built into those scripts, the same as with abusers, very clearly, so that when that challenge does come, they've already done it.
And if I'm talking to my fraud prevention audience, what do Nationwide do that really stand out for you?
They go the extra mile. There's not victim blaming language. They recognise that victims are very, very vulnerable, most vulnerable straight after the fraud. So there was great safeguarding being put in place there, including payment protections.
So what does that safeguarding look like? Because I do understand from a fraud perspective, it's a balance between blocking the account and someone not being able to pay their mortgage and protecting the victim.
Yeah, and this is where we've got this huge issue at the moment because victims can unwittingly be mules for these types of criminals as well. It's not always that money is being stolen from them. It can be that they will be used to pass money through.
I'm going to send you £1,000
as part of the scenario.
You keep 200, get for yourself, you kind of thing. Because
as a thank you.
Yeah, and I understand, a bank or a financial institution, they don't want to have to then pay back money. So it's safe for them to pause the transaction or pause the account and,
Yeah.
So how
But too often for me, without question, that victim is having that account shut down, which means they don't have the ability to pay bills or a mortgage.
Yeah.
And that's like, come on.
There needs to be. So what's the safeguarding that Nationwide does?
So they put a victim I can think of particularly, they put a special payment pause on things. So whenever she made a payment, there was a time space where
3 days or something. So she knew if it was a bill, she needed to do it 3 days early.
Yeah. And then there'd also be a conversation happened if it was something unusual. So she'd always get a phone call, right, let's talk through this payment. So it was superb.
That is incredible. And I imagine a cost for Nationwide and all that kind of stuff. But
TSB openly understand that this happens. They've got a reimbursement policy that's fabulous. So victims are at least feel heard in that respect. There's not a fight that has to go on. So they've been really, really good. I'm disappointed with Santander, who, claim to have this big break the spell team. They disappoint me a little bit, especially with the letters that I've seen that are sent to victims of fraud.
Like overly corporate or?
No, just the language is so victim blaming in it.
Give me an example. Like, what does that kind of look like?
Off the top of my head, it's really hard, but we know that victims fall for this kind.
Fall for? They haven't tripped over.
Yeah, and it's that kind of language that's terrible
because
for me.
Fall sounds like an accident, you silly goose.
And it's your fault.
Yeah, you should have been more careful. You should have looked where you were
they
walking.
weren't. They were targeted and exploited, and you're the ones that actually didn't recognise.
I understand you've been exploited, and these criminals are using our bank to do that.
And they don't accept any responsibility for not recognising patterns, everything before in that respect. What annoyed me most, we were on the Fraud Select Committee and some of the banks came in afterwards and we were listening in on that conversation. Politicians rightly said, well, if TSB can reimburse 95% of their customers when it's been APP fraud, why are you only reimbursing 58% to Santander? And the comment that came back was, well, we're willing to reimburse after going through this whole rigmarole of it's a very sophisticated, manipulative crime. We understand that the victims are coerced into sending the payments, blah, 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 blah. They'd gone through all that and then said, well, we only reimburse that amount because the victim needs to take responsibility. Oh. And I'm like, hang on, that's a big contradiction.
It's a big contradiction. It's really interesting, because when you think of the banks, the banks you're mentioning there, TSB and Nationwide, they're heritage banks. They think a lot about their customer base and loyalty. And I wonder if there's that deeper care for customers. Yeah. Not saying anything against Santander. Please don't kill me, Santanderites. But, I know Revolut got in a lot of trouble because they
Revolut, absolutely
Revolut
diabolical.
was saying F you to fraud for a little bit. But, it's interesting, isn't it? This new, there's a duality to it and the commercial lens. Of course, as a bank, you don't want to be on the hook for paying back millions. You're basically paying the fine for the fraudsters because it is still money, but
Yeah.
it's their job to have better frameworks and protections in place ultimately.
Yeah. There are different types of things that certain banks are doing better than others. So I know that some of the banks are much better at collaborating by sharing data with police and things like that. Some banks are not so great at doing that, I think.
Yeah, I think Monzo's really good.
I don't know
It's
about
really
Monzo.
interesting actually on that. So I recruit a lot of heads of fraud for fintechs in particular, and they've got a really interesting model now where fraud used to be like the cousin to financial crime. They're combining financial crime, transaction monitoring, screening, and customer services under the same team, so that instead of fraud being over here trying to catch the typologies, they're working with customer services and the calls that are coming in and who's setting up these bank accounts and what are the conversations that are kind of happening. And it's a lot more holistic.
That's good.
And it's over the last year I've seen that.
That
It's
is good.
really good. It's really, really uplifting the profile of fraud in the bank as well. Whereas it's not, over here in the corner, fin crime, or people who are more aware and pulling budgets and pulling strings are becoming more aware of it, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
And with APP fraud coming through.
I think my biggest
Excuse me.
bugbear is that, the FCA state that...
Not the FT.
No, not the FT, the FCA in this one. So the FCA very much say that there should be know your customer. What are the normal payment patterns of this customer? What is the demographic of this customer? Are they more at risk for this reason or that reason? You should know your customer.
Yeah.
They're making a lot of money out of these people at the end of the
Amen.
day. So why is it that me as a non-banking person, when I'm putting cases together for a victim, that it is so blindingly obvious to me that there has been a very distinct fraud pattern with the payments, because not only of the places that the payments have been sent, but also the patterns of those payments and the volume of those payments. If I can see that in nearly every single case that I build for a victim for reimbursement, and I can see from the statements that they've sent me where I'm pulling those payments that they've starred that their previous payment pattern was nothing like that. Why is bank with supposed fraud specialists in that are supposed to be recognising the signals not pulling the flags from those payments and then checking the know your customer? Is this normal behaviour for that customer?
It is interesting, isn't it? Like, because my bank does it. Both my banks. I've got Monzo and I think they're really good at it. I think Monzo is really good at it actually because they're utilising so much technology. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Monzo's whole theory with financial crime, or part of their theory with financial crime, is to removing people from it, which sounds really dystopian and awful, but it means they do a lot of pattern recognition. So they're very clever and very on it. It's very instantaneous when something's going awry. Whereas the bigger banks have these large teams, and if you're relying on a person to spot something out of millions of transactions, millions of frauds, it's not as effective as people think it is. So we're going to see, I think we'll see better improvements.
This is where AI should be used for good,
totally,
as far as I'm
rather
concerned.
than the scams.
If you've got built into your system the know your customer parts for each account, and then AI is scanning those accounts for certain things, like you're not going to have a 70-year-old woman sending money to crypto under any normal circumstance.
The crypto scams.
Goodness sake.
Yeah. The crypto scams, there should be a blanket rule. Anyone over 65 with massive amounts going into crypto suddenly, they should be blocked.
I mean, in comparison here in the UK compared to the States, for example, we are so cautious, I think, with crypto. We are not being hit in the same way that the States and other countries are with the disgustingly named pig butchering. That's the hybrid between the romance and the investment fraud. We're not being hit in the same way. And I think a lot of that is because we're a lot more cautious when it comes to crypto because we don't know about it. I think it's a bit of a British thing. It is filtering through, but they do coach victims to set up crypto accounts and wallets to be able to launder the money through. And again, if you've got a particular demographic of person who has never shown any interest in that kind of thing before, one thing should be enough of a signal.
Enough of a signal. It's just I wonder how they catch that in the back systems. Anyway, so to wrap up the podcast, if there is one thing, one resource, one go and do this now, if someone really had an interest in that, what would it be?
Love Said is a massive resource. So, and there are links to Catch Catfish on there as well. So there's a whole thing for victims on there. If you've got any doubts about, are you in any kind of abusive relationship? Because like I said, starting from domestic violence, I literally had an hour yesterday with someone who's been in a coercive marriage for 30 years.
God.
I was talking to, because it links so closely with everything that goes on. There is a massive amount of resources on there for victims, including a step-by-step guide that you can walk through if you're too embarrassed to talk to anybody, that would guide you through the likelihood of if you are in communication with a fraudster. So we also need to remember that every single victim is unique.
Yes,
that's their past history and the way that they deal with the trauma after the fraud. So their healing process has to be unique to them as well.
Yeah.
Love Said's resources for victims help to put that power back with the victim to choose their best healing path.
Yeah, and suits this scenario.
It suits them because they know themselves best at the end of the day. I think all of us as human beings, especially women, need to learn how to recognise what's going on in our own bodies.
Oh my God, yeah.
So recognise when you're vulnerable, because everybody at a certain time in their life, whether you're classed as the strongest person on earth, there will be a time in your life that you might not realise where you are more vulnerable. And that's because your cortisol levels are higher. It unlocks the door. And if you're targeted at that particular point, when you're not really expecting it, that's how they get a foot in, whether that's an abuser or a criminal.
Yeah.
So if we can recognise when we're vulnerable as human beings, just take time to think.
What's a good question to ask yourself? Like, would I date this guy if I was in the best place of my life? Would I something like that? Or?
And it's what's going on with me at the minute. It's recognising whether you're in a cold state, as they call it in psychology, where you're thinking rationally.
I'm never in that
and
state.
logically. I'm not a lot of the time. Or whether you're in any kind of hot state where, you know, that lower serotonin and that higher cortisol literally blocks rational and logical thinking, and it makes you
I want to feel better
risk-averse.
right now. What's going to do that?
Yeah. So just being able to recognise what you're going through at that time in your life, could that be affecting the way that you're thinking? Get someone else to come in.
Yep.
Have a little look at the situation. But also to recognise what a healthy relationship looks like. So when I look back at the one relationship I had from the successful online dating, it was so slow boil and it was really healthy. And I didn't ever once feel turmoil in that relationship. Compared to an abuser or a criminal, they always use this behaviour and manipulation process, which means that things move very, very quickly and very, very intensely. And they need that to happen. They want what's going on inside our bodies to happen, to put you in that hot state and then to give you that dopamine rush. And then throughout that relationship, they're keeping you in a perpetual hot state. So you're always feeling.
And you're making wrong decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're kept in a hot state, you're never going to be able to make logical, rational decisions.
You're never going to step back and see
No. So I'd say, remember what a healthy relationship looks and feels like. It's slow. It builds over time. It's never going to be that rushed, intense, overwhelming in a good way soulmate connection.
Yep.
Not to say that soulmates don't exist if that's your thing.
Yeah.
But if it's happening really quickly, recognise that could be unhealthy.
Yep.
And so, recognise what we're going through in our lives at the time. And if someone connects with us in that time, is it feeling?
Give it a scratch test.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been really interesting and devastating at the same time. I'm so sorry you went through that.
I wouldn't be where I am now, though.
Amen.
Yeah.
Not everything happens for a reason, but you know, the fact you've used it as a superpower and a strength to sort of
I did say it happened to me for a reason, though. I've always said he met me for a reason, because I was the one that was never going to let him get away with it.
I was thinking when you were telling the story, I thought you messed with the wrong bee.
Yep.
Go on, girl. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's made my day.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been fabulous.